What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lexi J Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Lexi Johnson. This is my husband and co-host, Brett Johnson. Guys, we are running on like less than 3 hours of sleep, so I apologize if I've got some intermittent yawning in here, but your girl's dragging. But yesterday, I had put up a question box on my story because I was like, okay, anticipating today's was the day that we actually moved out of our house. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So we moved out of our house. We are running on less than 3 hours of sleep. And then as I think we mentioned it last week or the week before, our new house won't be done for a few months. So we're staying at my in-laws' lake house. So it was like a 4-hour drive or something like that. And then when we got here, we unloaded, and it's just been a really long day. But we've got a question box submissions to answer, and I'm excited. Brett was asking what the questions were beforehand, and I was reading them to him, but I told him not to answer because I want to be able to converse, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know which questions you're actually going to select too, because there was a long list.
Yeah. So, but I want to talk because I know a lot of people. I was chatting back and forth on Instagram with people just from my stories. How are you feeling leaving our first home?
It hit harder than I expected it to. There was just a moment of clarity, I suppose, where it just hit me all at once. Just kind of a wave of emotion.
It was really cute, actually. I turned around, Brett's all teary-eyed.
Yeah, I guess it all, we were so caught up in the act of getting everything out, and it was just hectic. And that's just, that's how it goes moving out. I'm sure, that's not unique to our situation. It was just go, 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 get everything out, get it organized best you can. And, it kind of came down to the wire, so to speak, with us trying to get all of our stuff out before the buyers were ready to get moved in.
The last 24 hours was an Olympic sport. It felt like we
got a lot of steps.
We did. And
it was raining, so that didn't make it easier. It has
been the nicest November, like, in history for Missouri, I swear. And then those 2 days when we were moving in and out, and mind you, we were putting our stuff that we didn't bring here because we didn't take all of our possessions to the lake house just because we didn't necessarily need to. So we put it in like a shop, an outbuilding, and we couldn't park like right by it. We had to park in the grass, which it was just downpouring. So it's just a swampy mess, tracking in and out. Like, I was sopping wet. I was like,
furniture's wet.
I looked like the llama off of Emperor's New Groove is the best way I can everybody knows that meme. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I don't even know the meme. I actually watched that whenever I was little. So
okay, that's exactly what I look like. But anyway, it was hectic. So yeah, we were just like chickens with our head cut off the 24 hours leading up to it, and then all of a sudden it was like there's nothing left in our home that we've come home to every day for the past almost 6 years.
Yeah. It was this is actually kind of an ode to what we discussed last week. It's kind of an ode to the last episode of Friends, where everybody just kind of looks around and they kind of have that realization that this is it, and it just hits hard. And I mean, it was our first house, the only house we've ever lived in together. The house that we started living together in immediately after we got married. I mean, there's just a lot of memories tied to it, and I didn't see it coming, but yeah, it hit pretty hard.
Yeah, the best way I described, like, I think it hit me when I recorded my last workout, and I said it felt like the last episode of your favorite show. Like, it just ended and you're like, now what?
Yeah.
But you had mentioned a lot of memories. That was a common question we got, was what is the best memory you have in that house?
Oof. The best memory. Let me stew on that a little. Do you have one that comes to mind?
I was thinking about it, and this is so boring, but I think it's just the monotony. Like, I just loved our day to day. I do love our day to day, and in that interim period, like just the lead up where we were moving everything, and our routine was so different, and we we were sleeping on a mattress on the basement floor. It was like only piece of furniture we had left, and we just kept talking about like, okay, well, I can't wait until now. I'm just ready to get out of here and get to the lake house. That way we can just get into our normal and be normal again. And I just like, I know that when I think about that house, I am not going to think about anything super crazy that happened. We did get our car got stolen out of the garage. That's not a favorite memory, but it's like, it's notable. But I'm just going to think back on just our life there. That was the first chapter of our marriage.
Yeah, I really don't think there's one memory. I don't think there's one individual memory. It's just a culmination. Well, let me get to what I'm getting at here.
Oh, I know
There's just a culmination of all these different things in our life that have changed since we moved in. Like the people that we were whenever we moved into that house are not the same people that moved out. We were very different people. And I'm happy about the people that we've developed into. So everything that's happened between that point and now, that's a dense timeline. There's a lot that's happened in that time span, and I'm proud of how far we've come.
Me too. And I was thinking how fortunate and unique it is that we've both grown so much, because we have changed dramatically, like in every aspect, but somehow we've done it kind of in a parallel fashion. And I don't think that's necessarily common. But that's just so fortunate.
Right. Yeah. Neither one of us really threw a grapple hook at the other and, pulled the other along. We grew together.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, it was a pretty even keel deal. So yeah, I it's very, very difficult to pick out one individual moment. Now, maybe in hindsight, like a year from now, I'll be able to look back and things will be, I don't know, a little more clear. I mean, we're very much so still kind of in the thick of it. I'm also exhausted.
But also, like, we are pretty boring. It's not like we don't throw dinner parties or anything. So, I mean, it's not like we
it's not
have
like
any...
a very, like, there's no traditional type moment per se, where I'm just thinking back on, that was it, that was the peak in that house. Really, it's just the small mundane things that we did every single day, or that we learned to do every single day, that I think are pretty special.
Yeah, me too.
Because that's what got us to this point right here. We wouldn't be in this situation that we're in right now if we hadn't adopted those mundane, those boring, mundane daily routines.
Yeah. Okay, so the question box, I told them to ask anything. So like funny, serious, lighthearted, whatever. So
okay.
We'll do some like rapid fire, easy answers, and then there are some other ones that are a little bit more in depth.
Okay.
What's your favorite junk food?
Ice cream.
Mine is also ice cream. What's your favorite savory? Don't answer this. We're going to answer it on the count of 3. Savory junk food. 1, 2, 3. Pizza. Okay. What kind of pizza? 1, 2, 3. Domino's.
Well, okay. I didn't know. Whenever you say kind, that's a very...
Oh, sorry. Brett and I love Domino's. Actually, Minsky's takes the cake. Domino's is the
accessibility
best.
Wise. You can always get Domino's.
Fact.
But Domino's has elevated their game over time. Like their garlic crust.
Don't get me started. We would have an entire podcast about it.
The smell is intoxicating.
Which also
the secret is extra cheese though.
Oh, that's always the secret.
Yeah.
Someone else had asked if we ever go out to eat or we ever eat junk food or anything like that. We absolutely do. We're not robots.
Yeah, I mean, it's an every once in a while thing.
It's for sure. It's sparing, but honestly, it's not even like like we are super disciplined, but it's not that I don't know. I don't like the way that I feel after I eat that more often
it's
than not. It is very much a temporary satisfaction, and then I'm like, I feel like garbage.
Yeah, it never fails.
There's a reason I call it eating like an asshole, because I always feel like one after.
Yeah, it never fails. While you're consuming it, it's like you're in this, you're on top of the world. It is the best thing ever. And then 2 hours later, you're like, oh yeah, this is why I don't do this.
Yeah.
I feel horrible.
Okay. What's your average step?
My average amount of steps every day. Well,
mine is definitely seasonal. Like in the summer, I'm like 20,000. I'm stepping.
So today I have 15,000. Mine has like my watch has like an adjusting step goal. It kind of like adjusts based on
your watch is fancy.
My average, I think. And that it's at 12,870 right now. So
I would say my average right now is about 12 or 13, probably.
Yeah, and that's like without...
today I'm at 16,000.
Like whenever we were on phase 1, I was probably like consistently averaging 15. It was, every single day, I was getting that 45-minute walk in. Now, on a normal work day, I still make it I make a concerted effort to have an additional walk, but it may not be a full 45.
I'm actually going to check out some Black Friday deals and maybe get a walking pad down here, because I would really like to amp up my step goal.
That helps, especially in the winter.
Yeah. And just being in an area that I'm not familiar with really. And I don't know anyone. So that makes me a little nervous if I were to walk super early in the morning or late at night,
Yep.
Anyway, next easy softball question. What's your favorite breed of dog? Be careful, they're both listening.
I know. Within earshot. Delta's. I'm petting her with my foot. It's very hard to go wrong with a golden retriever. And we don't have a golden retriever. I've had golden retrievers in the past. But I think it would be tough to... for somebody to say that a golden retriever isn't like the best family dog breed. But I love labs. Like Delta's our beautiful chocolate lab, and she's just gorgeous. She's a wild child. Like she's chill whenever she gets, in her element, but insert her into anything that's not normal, she's a wild child. She's very intelligent, but just crazy. Butler is 100% the opposite.
He's our English bulldog,
and it's not that he's dumb. He just is the most stubborn. I don't think it's just him. That's kind of the English bulldog thing. The most stubborn dog you've ever met in your entire life. Like he'll look at you
to let
and make
you know
sure
that
he knows
that he know,
or that you know that he heard you, and then do exactly the opposite. Well, actually, he doesn't push it as bad with me because he knows that I hold the line. But with Lexi, like he'll purposefully make sure that she knows
he's
that
a brat.
he heard him, that he heard her, and then do the opposite of what she wants him to do. But
yeah.
But Butler's a great dog. He's super low maintenance, just because he sleeps all day.
He literally, I'm not exaggerating. He sleeps minimum 18 hours a day.
Yeah, but I just like as far as like a catch-all. Like, what's the best dog breed? I think a person would be hard-pressed to deny that a golden retriever is, like, the best overall breed. They're highly intelligent. Their demeanor is second to none. Just happy-go-lucky family dogs. They are not a threat to any person or other animal in the world. Like,
that's why I say you're a golden retriever.
They're just a very wholesome dog.
Yeah, you're a golden retriever human. Golden retrievers are awesome. I grew up with labs. I have a lab, so I'm very partial to them. But I really, really want a Bernese Mountain Dog. I think they're gorgeous, and I think that like their temperament is super similar to a golden or a lab.
I haven't been around enough Bernese Mountain Dogs to really know what their temperament is, but based on what I have seen, I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah. Next question. What superpower would you choose?
See, I hate these questions, like the superpower one, because it's like I always start second guessing. Like
Nope,
it's a double-edged sword.
I
But
mention mine almost daily. You know what? What my
teleport. Yeah.
Yes.
Teleportation.
At least
yeah.
once a week, I mention that I wish I could teleport.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm in the vehicle, I say I wish I could teleport.
Yeah. See, like I don't ever want to play with the mind thing, because if you can read mind, like nobody wants to actually, like the reality of being able to read minds would be horrific. So I don't want that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
But like being able to fly, like that sounds so basic, but let's be real. Everybody would love to be able to fly. It'd be super, super cool. So I'll say that.
Being able to fly. What's your love language?
Words for sure.
Word. So
Words of affirmation.
I've learned, I think, because I'm also a words of affirmation. But I think that
Acts of service.
that I used to be, I'm an acts of service also. I'm trying to explain. So like I want words of affirmation and acts of service. Those are my top two. But I think that like gift giving is the way that I give it. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, I'm just thinking. I'm not doubting. I could see that. I know that gives you a lot of fulfillment. You get a lot out of that.
I love giving gifts.
I mean, I think in general, it's good for people to give. I think it's a very fulfilling feeling. It's just good for the soul. But yeah, for some more than others, I think it builds them up. And it makes them feel whole.
Well, and I say that because like words of affirmation are super important to me, but I'm not always the best at giving words of affirmation.
I have to be super intentional. That's very true.
It.
Yeah. As far as being the recipient, how I receive things best, like words of affirmation are very important to me. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm not as good, at delivering words of affirmation. Yeah. I think with some people I'm better, but others I'm not. It just depends on the relationship.
Absolutely. And it's like, it's easier to give words of affirmation to maybe like not as intimate relationships, Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Because a lot of times the words of affirmation you're giving, I think they're not as intimate, or they're not as like, I don't know, not that they're superficial by any means, but I don't know. They don't carry as much weight. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I say words of affirmation.
Okay, are you ready to get into a little bit more thought-provoking questions? Will you ever come to Iowa for a Lexi J Wellness workout?
Will I?
I mean, if I'm going, you're going. You want to answer?
I would venture to say that, yeah, at some point you will, because starting in 2024...
we are for sure already going to Nashville in March. And if Nashville's a success, then we're going to go on a Lexi J Wellness little bebop tour.
Bebop.
Bebopping all over town. Yes, so it's very possible that we would swing up into Iowa. I actually have some friends that are building a gym in Iowa, so that would be really cool. Maybe we could use their space. Alrighty. Let's see.
Hit me with your best shot.
What was our first impression of each other?
So I could go a few different directions with this, like,
you have
depending
multiple
on
first impressions.
Well, no, just like depending on the depth that you want to go with this. But like, whenever I start getting really like analytical of what I was attracted to,
my boobs.
How'd you know? My jugs. Probably my
people like about me.
Probably my
jugs. If you guys have not watched The Office, that's an Office reference. And if you guys have not seen a photo of me or seen me in picture, I'm an A cup. So it's
A minus.
yes.
So, oh God, I lost
Sorry,
my train of thought. Okay. Rephrase the question again.
What was your first impression of each other?
So as I like reevaluate what, so like impression. Okay, so impression's not necessarily like attraction. So first impression was hot girl, likes sports a lot. Immediately, there's a connection there. Then we connected on a different level whenever we started talking about specific players like that used to play for the Chiefs. And small town girl, I had a mutual connection because my buddy introduced me to her. So I mean, right out the gate, like there was connection. So first impression was that, hey, this has potential.
This has potential. I remember exactly what you were wearing. You were wearing a powder blue George Brett Royals t-shirt. I thought you were really cute, but I did think you were preppy, which you are preppy to an extent.
It's been so long since you've busted out that term.
So,
I'm not preppy.
You are preppy in essence. It's an aura of you. I don't think that you act preppy.
I don't dress preppy like either. Like
I never said that. I said it's an aura.
It's an aura.
It's your essence. Like, I think.
I don't know if I like that.
Well, you can't help it. I don't think you can.
It seems so definite. Like,
I'm sorry.
You are who you are. I guess I am who
What's
I am.
my essence? What's my aura?
Trying to come up with a good analogy. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. No, I'm
in a million years I could have never guessed that.
No, I your aura.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I mean, to me, like you embody an aura of like confidence. I think that was what attracted me to you initially, was like, I am not attracted to somebody who doesn't have an air of confidence that they carry around with them. Like, if you're the type of girl that this is just the way I am, and this is something I've realized later, why I wasn't as attracted as I wanted to be, or like why I thought I had a problem where I thought I was like, okay, well, I have a problem. Like, I can't find a girl that I stay attracted to. Like, I lose interest. And I think I even told you this.
Brett told me maybe like within the first 2 weeks of dating, he was like, yeah, every girl that I like start talking to or start dating, I usually lose interest really quickly. And he didn't say that in like, Brett is the most considerate, thoughtful, genuinely, like, he is a golden retriever of a human. He is a much better person than I am in every aspect possible. He didn't say that to be like douchey or anything. It was just like so matter of fact. Like, it never occurred to him that sharing that with a new girlfriend that he was talking to would be like, that's kind of scary or a red flag. But yeah, he had mentioned, he was like, I can't, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, I think what it boils down to is that, like, there were the girls that I was talking to, they didn't have that. They didn't have that X factor, if you will, like, where you have to be like self-sufficient to a certain extent, where you don't need me to validate you to feel like you're worthy, you have trying to think the best way to word it.
It's not a completion thing.
Like, I don't want you to look to me like, I'm not attracted to that. Whenever a girl leans on me to feel fulfilled, like, I feel I get a lot of attraction out of an ambitious person. And I didn't necessarily know that at the time. So I didn't know what it was where I was losing attraction, so to speak. And you just, I mean, at the time, like, it's not like you were, some girl that was seeking out, entrepreneurship. That was not your mode at the time whatsoever.
I was going to say, it's so interesting to hear this now because, like...
But you just have that makeup. Like, when you walked around, there was never a second that I thought that you didn't have confidence. There wasn't a second that I thought that you didn't have just a resilient makeup.
I love that. Well, that's really flattering. Thank you.
And I don't really know if you would even be able to recognize that you have that, but I mean, it was just something that I could see, and it's something that I'm attracted to. And, hindsight, it's very clear to me why you were different than the other people that I had seen before.
Well, thank you. So that brings me into another question that someone asked. They said, for all us single girls that are out there trying to find their own Brett, what advice do you have? So it seems to me that, first off, I'm going to help all my girls out. I hope everyone finds their own Brett Johnson. I think that you need to know what you bring to the table, first of all, that you need to seek out your own potential and your own personal excellence. And that's like one thing that Brett and I talk about a lot is, like, a lot of people go into relationships or they look to their relationships, and I always want to, like, put a disclaimer that we are by no means like relationship experts. This isn't a relationship expert podcast or anything like that. It's just like, we're sharing our experience. We're sharing things that have worked for us or what we talk about, whatever. But one thing that I think that we always come back to is that a lot of times in couples that we see, in couples that we know of that complain a lot or just don't, like, they have a lot of issues, it's that they look to the other person to complete them. It's like two halves. And it's kind of like a cutesy little thing that's like, you're the other half that completes me. But, like, you should be a wholly, like a whole person.
Right.
You should have all of your, faculties that you bring to the table, that you can operate independently without that person and be successful. And then you want them in your life because it's addition. It's complementary to your life. Mm-hmm. It's not like, I have to have this, or like a life support. I don't feel like I articulated that well, but.
No, I think you did. It's just, it's hard to convey because you don't want it to come across the wrong way. You don't want anyone to feel like they're doing it the wrong way. But
yeah, and if that works for you, if you guys are two halves of a whole and you're happy and fulfilled, then that's awesome.
Right.
But, like, if you're looking for a Brett Johnson, which this question was posed, then Brett said it was someone that was ambitious and independent, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think that I would maybe just rephrase that for you, and I would come at it from the standpoint of how do you intend to attract your own Brett Johnson, and try to embody the person that you think that person would look for. And, like, I'm not saying you should try to be something that you're not, but truthfully, like, this whole mission of personal excellence and planning on, being the best version of yourself, you're always aspiring to be somebody that you're not necessarily, you're not that person right now. I mean, I'm not the same, like I said before, I'm not the same person that we were when we moved into that house 5+ years ago. And I'm happier because of it. I'm in a better spot because of it. So while you can come at this from a couple different ways. You can say, well, you shouldn't try to be somebody you're not. Yes, that may be true, but you should always be aspiring to be the best version of yourself, the one that's going to make you the happiest and the most fulfilled. And if we're all being honest with ourselves, we always have a long way to go to reach our true potential.
Yeah, I always talk to my Lexi J Wellness girls like, okay, if the best version of you woke up on January 1st or March 1st or June 23rd, whatever, if the best version of you woke up, like, what would that person's relationships be like? What would that person's habits be like? What would that person eat? What would they follow on Instagram? What do they read? All of these things. Who do they associate with? Okay, so you have that best version of yourself. That best version of you is built. It's not just like conjured up overnight. So if the best version of me has better relationships with this person, like a man like Brett that, you know, brings so much to the table, what do I need to do in order to enrich that relationship and to attract that relationship and to bring that into a possibility? So if you're being honest and taking an inventory of yourself and, you know, and I recommend doing that. Just take an inventory and be like, okay, right now where I'm at, is this going to draw the type of person that I want to build a relationship with? If the answer is no, then you know where to correct. And if the answer is yes, then it's just a matter of time, I think. Don't settle in the meantime.
Yeah. And there is a time element. There's no guarantees that you're just going to immediately attract that person.
Brett was 20 years old, like pressing the panic button.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is so silly. Okay, next question. Let's see, what else do we have? Lots of people asked about babies. We're fans. We like babies. I've got 5 nieces and nephews, and you've got 5 on your side too. Next question. If you do have babies, what physical trait would you want them to adopt from each of you?
What physical trait? I would say your lips. The Smith lips.
The Smith lips. Brett and I, we had been dating for maybe less than 1 month, actually. And my nephew Bauer was born. And I had sent him a picture, like, brand newborn baby. And he was like, he has your lips, your sister's lips. Like, you all have the same. It's our Cupid's bow on our top lip. I would want them to have your smile wrinkles. They're not even necessarily dimples. They're just like the smile lines, which I know some people hate, like, about themselves, but I love those.
I wasn't even aware that I had what you're describing until you kind of drew attention to it, but I'm glad you like them.
Yes, I love them.
One day they're probably not going to be quite so flattering.
Well, I hope I give you, like, very deep smile wrinkles. All right. Let's see. Favorite breed of dog. We already did that. Oh, what is the most common non-serious argument we have? She specified non-serious. She didn't want to bring up any dirt here.
Most common or frequent non-serious argument. What's some? We don't really bicker about a whole lot. I hate laundry. Do we bicker about laundry? Like,
not really.
I mean, we don't really bicker about it. It's just like, I'm very straightforward. It's not like I try to play it off and be like, you know, I always make an effort to do the laundry. I do not. I hate the laundry.
No, but I've only operated our vacuum once. So
yeah,
I think that it's kind of like it's an unwritten, unsaid, understanding.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have like this this scale that we measure in our heads, but we just kind of do things.
What do we bicker about? Brett is very OCD. He's very clean. And I'm a clean person, but I am not as precise about so many things.
That's probably that's probably true. Yeah, sometimes it gets to me. Like, there's certain things that I just can't really overlook, and I remind you of them.
Yeah.
The water on the kitchen faucet, that kind of thing.
Yeah. The water on the kitchen faucet, the little teeny tiny things like that.
I'm just a detail person, I guess. And not I guess, I am a detail person. And whenever people don't pay attention to details, like whenever it comes to cleanliness, and I'm not saying you're dirty, but you're not on my level.
No, I no.
So whenever somebody's not on my level, like, which is an unrealistic expectation, because I am the way I am because of my mother. I know that. That this is no mystery why I am the way I am. And I know it goes against the grain even more so because I'm a male and I am this way. But yeah, it's something that plagues me.
It's something that plagues me. And because it plagues you, you plague me about it. It's like I get a lot of them. Like, yes, when you're like, don't track in mud or anything like that. Make sure. I get if there's a gripes there. It's the water. Like, if I drop an ice cube and I pick it up and then I don't wipe the droplet off of the ground, like, that shit's gonna evaporate sooner or later.
It leaves water spots.
See, that's where I'm like, we've got bigger fish to fry. You need more stressors in your life if that's what you're
Whenever you
consumed by.
you've spilled coffee before and you tried to play it off like it didn't get on the carpet, and I knew it had to have gotten on the carpet, and then you're like, nope, it just got on my shirt, or it just got on my foot, and it's like, okay, well, if it got there, there's 0% chance it
I got
didn't.
it in stride. It landed all on my foot.
Right, and then I go, and then it's all over the wall, it's all over the floor. It's
Okay,
like,
he says it's all over. That's another thing. See, whoever asked this question, you're gonna get a real life bicker right here. He says it's all over. Like, that's one thing. It'll be the littlest thing. I'll be like washing dishes and there's a little bit of water splatter up on the sink, and he's like, there's water everywhere. It's all over the countertop. And it's like 6 water droplets all over. Yeah, I'm glad we brought that to light.
all right, so there you go.
And there you have it.
I was struggling to find it. We found it.
Okay. Okay, we've got 2 left. Someone asked for wedding advice.
Wedding advice?
Yes.
I don't know if I'm the person to come to for wedding advice.
I don't know if maybe it's like, maybe they mean marriage advice.
I'm also not a relationship guru.
Wedding advice?
But
if we could do it again, I would elope. Or just have a teeny little ceremony.
hypothetically, yes, but in reality, would you?
Yes.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah, like looking back at our lives have changed so much, but like the fact that, I don't know, 3/4 of the people that were at our wedding, we don't talk to and haven't talked to in the past year. Like, that wedding was for so many more people than it was for us. In hindsight, I think.
Yeah, weddings get kind of political because it becomes the guest list becomes a situation of, well, so and so is going to be offended if they aren't invited, and that it starts involving the parents pretty heavily, and it's like, well, you have to invite so and so. It's like, well, I've known so and so since I have memories, but I don't think it's important that they're at our wedding. But inevitably it turns into a situation where you don't want people to get their feelers hurt.
Yeah, if this question is actually about a wedding, then that would be my advice. Be selfish. This day is about you and your spouse. Be selfish. Be selfish on this day. Make it about you. Don't make it about anyone else, because you're going to spend the rest of your life appeasing everyone else and, bending to their needs. Make this day everything that you want. Have the people that you want to be there. The people that you don't want to be there, no business being there.
Yeah. But at the same time...
Nope. Next question.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say, like, it's in the moment, the magnitude is just it is the biggest moment of your life. But really, since then, like if you would, as life progresses, you'd look back and be like, man, I would have done it differently. Like you would always do it differently depending on what phase of life you're in. So it's all relative. Like at that time, that wedding that we had, it was the most fun wedding that we could have ever dreamed
for
of.
sure,
Like
yeah.
it was the best. But if we were to get married again today, ex-nay the whole elope thing. If we had like, a wedding like we did before, it would be totally different. It wouldn't be the same style. We wouldn't have the same tuxes. You wouldn't have had the same dress. There's always going to be something that could have been done differently. So just don't get so wrapped up in all the details where if something doesn't go 100% correctly, that it ruins your entire day. Because like, for instance, we were supposed to light the unity candle that got 100% skipped over, and then like we came back to it like at the very end, like very informally. But like our wedding was so special to me. Like one, because I married the woman that I love dearly, but two, there was also something incredibly unique where we got to have her grandpa marry us, and that was super special. And
I would for sure do that again.
He got to marry a couple other siblings, and very likely, we are the last that he's marrying, or that he'll ever marry. And that, that hits hard, knowing that, thank God, the timing worked out well, where he had the capacity to take that on.
Yeah, my grandpa has Parkinson's, and he had Parkinson's at that time also, but it's progressed since then. Right.
And, there are things that he and I discussed. There are moments that I have with him that I'll never forget. Those are words that just ring in my head, anytime the thought of our wedding comes to mind.
Well, now you're going to make me cry.
So it's really, it's the little moments. I mean, like when we read each other's letters, like I bawled like a baby. Like my parents thought that I was backing out of the wedding.
So did I. And no one told me. We read our,
I'm not a crier.
We wrote letters to each other, and he bawled like crazy. Bawled like a baby.
You make it sound like I was wailing.
You were.
It wasn't audible.
You
was
were
it?
sobbing. Yes. And I no one told me. So you can't see me in my dress, but I'm allowed to see you. So I was like standing behind you reading this, and you're like shaking. Your shoulders are shaking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to hit the road. What the heck? But no one told me. Like I was asking for confirmation. Like, hey, has anyone checked on him? What's going on? So I'm about to walk down the aisle. I'm like, I don't know if that guy's going to be down there. Yeah.
I don't know why I invoked so much panic into everybody. Like I got emotional on our wedding day.
Yeah, I forgot how that was scary. I wasn't emotional. I was more scared that like you were going to runaway bride me.
I don't know why everybody thought that I was panicking. It was just,
you don't cry, and you were sobbing. Like,
sorry, I got emotional.
Marching down death row. Yeah, my grandpa doing our wedding was really, really special. The last thing that I'll hit on with weddings is it's not that serious. Just remember, the wedding part is serious, but like when it comes to the details, do not stress over like table settings or centerpieces or your seating chart. Like it's not that serious. It's not that deep.
Right. I mean, it's not.
At the end of the day, you're going to marry the love of your life, hopefully, and you guys are going to live a very happy, fulfilling life. Hopefully you'll be with your loved ones. And as long as you guys are all together, it's going to be a great time. And if someone is thinking about your table settings or your flower arrangements, they're psycho. I don't know.
Right. I mean, it's not meant to be like military procedure. It's not that serious. Like people will never remember it.
And if they do,
it happened, and the only reason that they may remember it is if you make a big deal out of it. Like nobody cares. Like they're there to celebrate you. They're not there to judge how perfectly everything is executed. And if they
Or-
are, then they need to get a life.
That's what I was going to say. Like, if someone has enough mental capacity to think about my
Then they don't have
table
enough going
settings,
on.
then their bandwidth is really, really low. Like, they don't have much else going on that I shouldn't really,
Right.
take into account, take that much stock into it. All right, last question. I think it's a good one to end on. Is it okay to want to work on yourself while in a relationship? So
That's an interesting
the way that
question.
I'm interpreting this is that whoever they're in a relationship with doesn't want to work on themselves. So it's kind of like that rate buster. Remember what I had told you when I read the other day? Rate buster. I have to emphasize the T because the first time I said it, Brett did not think I said rate. So the way that I'm interpreting this question is that this person's in a relationship and the person they're in a relationship with does not want to change or evolve or progress or whatever. So she says, is it okay to want to work on yourself in a relationship? So she probably feels guilty. So there is this term, rate buster, and it came from factory workers like decades ago. So essentially you have a standard rate, and this is when factory worker or like the assembly line was ran by humans and not robots, and there was like a status quo of like your hourly rate of whatever you're producing. That's how many you should get done in an hour. Like the standard worker is going to get X number. You're going to be this much, like
your
this
SPMs.
productive. Yes. All of my former cashiers out there, that's SPMs. Scans per minute. But anyway.
SPMs up, baby.
Yes, I still do it when I'm a self-checkout. But anyway, so if you were aware of this like established status quo, and then there was someone that came in and they were just whipping through, super efficient, super productive, they would be called a rate buster because they are busting the rate. They're making everybody else look bad because they're performing so well. They're producing so much, so much more volume than anyone else that it just really shines a light on that deficiency between that person and then everyone else. So I think that this person's asking the question because they probably feel a little guilty because they're wanting to work on themselves and their partner is not. My answer is absolutely, I want you to work on yourself. And I think that that's 100% okay and encouraged. And honestly, it sucks that the person you're with doesn't necessarily want to evolve as well, but it's not your responsibility to force that. It's not your responsibility to stay with them if they're not. And I say stay with them as in like stay complacent in where you're at right now, just because they're not wanting to pursue that.
Yeah, so the first part of the question, there's kind of like it's two parts to this in my head. Is it okay to work on myself? And it doesn't matter what the if is. Like, it's always okay to work on yourself. There is no if circumstance where it's not okay to work on yourself. Like I feel like that's a human's obligation is to always be working on yourself. Like if you want to progress instead of regress, you have to be working on yourself.
That's a really good point that you said, like, there is no if. I had talked to a woman last week, and her husband had a procedure and he was in the hospital, and she was like, I honestly felt really guilty, like going for a walk and just continuing to eat my meal prep and like still do this lifestyle while, everything else is kind of going out the window. Like, this should also go out the window, right? That shouldn't remain a priority. And it absolutely should. Like, it is always okay to work on yourself. The if is irrelevant.
Right.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. That's how I view it personally. Yeah, there is
that's good.
There really is no if.
I think that's great. All right, Brett, are you ready to hit the hay?
Yeah. Yeah.
I enjoyed this conversation.
No, it was good. Yeah, I appreciate all the questions. There were some thoughtful questions, and the Lexi can get probably 20 more unique questions that haven't been asked there if she just puts a question box up on her story. But it does help if you all will submit them to the email. It's something that we can queue up, and if we want to do a Q&A episode in the future, then we can just refer back to that. It's just one more thing to have to do separately.
Will you remind them what the email is?
It's pod@lexijwellness.com.
And it also, if you are submitting these, don't feel the need. You don't have to write a bodied letter. It can just be like, hey, I would be really interested if you guys touched on this.
Yeah, it can be totally informal. Like we're not looking for a well-worded essay, like a 150 character essay.
Sometimes when I send emails, I feel the need that it has to be like a paragraph long, and then I'm like, no, this is fine.
And that's great. If you feel like you need to give context or something for something that's important to you, by all means. But you shouldn't feel that it's a necessity.
Yeah. All right, guys. Until next Wednesday, we will talk to you later. But I appreciate you so much.